Morning, everyone. Hi, baby. Hey, honey. Is the door open, sweetie? Hey, baby. Hello, sweethearts. Morning, everyone. Hi, Brady. Hi, Paul. It's about time. It says 100%. If you want to come talk to me, come talk. Yes. I'd love to hear how you define feminism, because we need to do that. How you define feminism and why you think it's toxic. But you don't have to come live. You can just tell me in the comments as well. Hi, Andrew. Hello. Let's chat, everyone. Good morning. Hello, everyone. I'm excited about today's conversation. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Hello. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome to the live stream. We need some tunes. You guys, I subscribe to Apple Music, and I'm thinking I might switch over to YouTube because I can't even play Apple Music on live streams at all. I can't speed it up. You can't like put it on 1.5 speed. So I don't know, but it's $5 more a month. I don't know why. I don't know why YouTube Music is 15 and Apple is 10. Not that I really care about $5, but it's like, why? It's the principle, you know? Today's feminism is about pushing men down rather than lifting women up. I feel bad that you feel that way. Like, I wish you didn't feel that way. I wouldn't want to feel that way if I was a man, that's for sure. It's about time. Tell me, how do you define feminism? Because I think that might be some of the confusion sometimes. Tell me, how do you define it? Hi, babies. I got cats everywhere. Hi, honeys. Hi, baby. As soon as I take my attention away, then they're like, they're like, hello, did you forget about me? I love them so much. We have wild cats outside too, everyone. We have cougars outside, mountain lions. Yeah, I want to talk about that because I don't want men to feel like they're being pushed down. I don't think any women do. But there are guys, right? There's a difference between men and guys. Men are the more mature of the two. And guys can be terrible, right? So let's talk about this. Good morning, Gloria. Good morning, Toby. Hello. Chris says the Abrahamic religions are toxic. Okay, I'd love to hear more about that and how that relates to feminism. I've read some stuff. in religious texts that are just wild about women. But then again, most people don't know that the law itself, where I live in Canada, and I'm sure where you live too, no matter where it is. Well, I shouldn't say no matter where it is. There's some countries who are not. Oh, I thought there was something outside, speaking of mountain lions. There are some countries who do not have this history, but they are rare. But we have laws in Canada that are disgusting in our history when it comes to women. Like you're allowed, like sanctioning domestic violence, for example. You're allowed to assault your wife, which is just wild. And it wasn't that long ago. So let's talk. Jack, what's up? I love Gloria's name, Glowbug. That's so cute. I'm trying to decide what lipstick to wear. My lips are so dry and I don't want to put my usual on because it's drying to my lips. And I've been using my favorite lip gloss as my blush, so I want to keep that for my blush. Girl problems, I tell you. Women problems. Hi, Tim. Hello. Just so everybody knows, if you have 200 followers, you can come live as a guest now. So all you need is 200 followers. Hello, Miss Mandy. Welcome. AJ, how are you? Turbo. So all you need is 200 followers to come live as a guest now. It used to be 1,000. Good morning. Hello, Jay. Hello, Chrissy. Hi, Nancy. How are you? Welcome, everyone. I'd love to hear your opinions on this topic. Is feminism toxic? I hope it's not cut off for anybody either. I'm going to check on my other phone, actually. Where is my other phone? Hold on. Let's see. What is going on? This phone needs to be updated. Sadly not updated. Can anyone hear my cat chewing? He's so cute. I love the way they sound. Guerra says it's toxic and the cancer of society. I'd love to hear why you think that. Good morning, everyone. Let's hear why you think that. I want to hear what your definition of feminism is, because we have to define it. Oh, it's not cut off. Good. We have to define it, and then we also, got to talk about what toxic means, too. So we got a lot of comments today that are saying, God, I'm thirsty. My lips are dry. So we're just getting started here, everyone. Put your comments below or request if you want to come on to be a guest and talk about this. I'm going to go grab some water. But I do want someone to define what feminism is. Let's talk about the definition. What is feminism? And how is it toxic? Tell me how. So a couple of people have commented that it is. So let's talk. I'll be right back. Baby. Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Yes, the big problem this morning, I got my new mascara. I'm so excited. For those of you who've been watching me for a bit, I've been trying to get the last out of my favorite one and I couldn't get it. It was horrible. Terrible. And then now my biggest problem, well, not my biggest makeup issue, which is what we do together. We get ready. Ryan, how are you? Nico, hi everyone. Now my makeup issue is getting all my lip glosses out and chapsticks for the winter because it's turning winter here. It's cold. I wonder what the temperature is right now. It's freaking cold is what it is. Good morning, everyone. Okay, let's see. 7 degrees. It's freaking cold. I live by the lake. It's cold up here. Suki, how are you? Tazzy, what's up? Todd, how are you? Sherna, how are you? Ooh, Sherna Castle. I like that name. Feminism is toxic because it creates division and conflict. Okay. Okay, $4.99. I hear you. How does it do that? Tell me how. If you want to come live, you only need 200 followers, so feel free to send a request and you can talk. You don't have to have your camera on if you don't want to. I love this discussion. Thank you everyone for being here. Welcome to the live stream. First time watching, but I think there are two streams of feminism. One is great, one is extreme. Okay, Amber, I hear you. Yeah, it can be extreme. I agree with that too, even though I do consider myself a feminist. But let's talk about why. Tell me why, Amber. Tell me why. What? Not why, but tell me the definition of like the extreme. What's too extreme for you? Answer that question. Christopher, Fireball, hello. And thank you for being here, Amber, and commenting. I appreciate it. Sumusi, feminism is toxic when it's used to discredit men. Okay, yeah, I agree. We're not here to hate on men. That's not what we're doing. But feminism, as I define it, and let me know if you agree, is a person, any kind of person, who wants equal opportunity and equal laws, like so equality in social opportunities and in legal, in justice, legal justice. So that's how I define it. Or that men aren't a necessary part of life. Yeah, we're not here to discredit men. I think that that's not what feminism is supposed to be. But I do feel that a lot of women have, because we've been oppressed for a long time, and let's talk about that if you don't agree with that, because there has been legal and social oppression of women, then what happens is they end up letting out their rage and anger that they've been holding inside, right? So if men can understand that, which men do, there's a difference between guys and men, right? Like guys are maturing, just like girls are maturing. There's not hating on anybody. Girls are maturing, guys are maturing, but there's men and women who have matured and they can see these things. And you get to choose who you want to be with, because clearly there's healing to do if we're expressing rage everywhere, but it's also understandable is what I'm saying. But even me as a woman, I don't accept that kind of rage on a regular basis in my life at all from other women at all. So I understand that. I think when we push more than equalization, when we take away men's rights, yeah, I agree, Amber, that's too far for me. That's not what feminism is to me. Again, feminism is here to balance out the injustice that has gone on, balance out the oppression that is still going on, because it was so deeply systemized against women. So a lot of men are feminists. A lot of men want that for their daughters, their mothers, their sisters, their wives. It's unconscionable. What is that word? What does it mean? I think you mean unconscionable. Let's check. My brain is still waking up, but also I can't remember what that word means, to be honest. And I don't want to be inconcise here. Unconscionable. Here it is. This photo's so small. Not restrained by conscience. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I believe you, but Canada has passed that stage long ago. Yes and no, right? Because we got to look at statistics here, because we can sit here in these live streams and start arguing, right? We can all start arguing and say, this is how I see it. This is how my family has been. This is what I see all around me. And those points are valid, and we are here to hear each other's stories. But at the end of the day, what's going to answer the questions are the statistics that are created through studies and research that controls bias, right? So we can look at what's actually going on in the world. Yes, there's still bias in the research, but it's controlled bias. And what we give each other is full bias, right? Like, I'm biased. If I don't look at the research, I'm especially biased. So we want to make sure that we have something as a group here, as a community, to use as a standard for us to come back to, right? Good morning, Pritz. Modern feminism is toxic as it has been now turned into extremism. Okay, tell me more. Well, give me an example of extreme feminism, because we want to get this out here and talk about it. Sister, the division of labor evolved and men did not actively pursue the subjugation of women. Well, violence statistics show otherwise, right? That's the part that I'm concerned about, are the statistics of domestic violence. Those are quite concerning. Very concerning, over 80%. That to me that makes me worried about women in our future, including your sisters, your brothers. I mean, your sisters, your daughters, your mother, like it's concerning. And also when a law was so recent, like just women weren't allowed to have credit cards, for example, 40 years ago. When it was so recent, it's still embedded in the society. It takes a while to get out, just like racism, right? Is racism gone just because the laws have changed? No, it's not, because it takes time to be removed and detoxed from the system. It still can be very much alive in a culture, even though it's not in the laws still, right? So I think I missed something here. Let me make sure. Yeah, Amber made a good point. When it goes over equalization, then that's when it starts to become biased against men, and that to me is toxic. Toxic, let's define toxic. I know we all kind of know what it means. It means like some kind of poison, but let's just make sure we have a mutual definition. Not that I'm a dictionary nerd and like we have to follow everything by the dictionary, but we need, again, a standard to have conversations from, right? Good conversations of relating to or caused by a toxin or other poison, yes. Capable of causing injury or death, especially by chemical means, poisonous. So we can say toxic is harmful. I think we would all agree on that, I think. If not, let me know. Women saying they're equal to men are ruining the strengths that men have and strengths that women have. Okay, Pritz, I see what you're saying. So you're saying that when we say, like, we all become kind of the same and our strengths become diminished. I think that's what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I need some lip gloss, you guys. Gosh. Can someone send me some lip gloss, please, through the phone? Thank you. I only have a really dark one, and then all my other ones are so drying, and my lips are dry. And I want to keep talking without feeling uncomfortable. Jeez. How rude of me not to find it before I came live. Actually, most men cherish and protect their sisters, mother and wife. That's what I'm saying, right? This involves your sisters, your mothers, your wives too. So when men get their back up, I'm often like, well, what about like protecting or considering the women in your life too? And a lot of men who do, not a lot of men, a lot of guys, there's a distinction between guys and men, right? So a lot of guys who are still growing and learning, just like we all are, but guys and girls are in a phase where they're not, let's say they're not committed, they haven't been in long-term committed relationships, perhaps they haven't touched on and lived in a kind of responsibility in terms of their relationships, their families, their careers, that is solid. I could just say it that way. And we've all been there. So this isn't about getting on anybody's high horse. But when we haven't done that, then yes, we start to see each other as the threat. And then we get all these gender wars, right? Sorry, can you remind me, how's it not? Oh, you're asking this. Okay. You're asking about feminism. Okay. Because I was like, wait, was it something I said? Sometimes people ask questions about something I said and it was 5 minutes ago and I can't remember. How is it not? Okay, that's a good question. Let me just read Ember's really quick because I was just having a conversation. I'll come back to that. I think more work is to be had on acceptance of both sexes taking on traditional roles. Shame both sides. Yeah, I can see that because, and by the way, if anyone wants to join me live, you only need 200 followers. You can jump in the panel. I just got on live, but the live does build up and we get quite a few people here and it becomes very interesting. So if you want to be the first to hop on, other people will join right after you. Yeah, I think there's a pushback, a battle, if you will, against traditional roles for sure. There's a bucking that society's doing, going, let's look at this. What was that? That was horrible, you know? And again, statistics do reflect a lot when it comes to that. Sister, I tell you, I'm a man, and I will not be a man if were it not for women who represent the emotion. I tell you, I'm a man, and I would not be a man. Right. I hear what you're saying. You're saying that our differences, tell me, I don't want to put words in your mouth for 99, right? So you're telling me that our differences kind of define each other. So because women are more defined as emotional, then you feel that you're more defined as a man. But something that I do feel is toxic about society in general is having men shut down their emotions, right? That's one thing as women that we're really encouraged to do that I feel is very healthy as little girls. We're encouraged, hey, if you feel, if a little girl's crying, we're like, come here, baby. And we hold her. I know my nonna did. Tell me if you can relate, anybody in the chat. You know, she would baby me. I got to cry and let it out. And just feel my feelings and talk about it as I got older. It's like, oh, go talk to your girlfriends, go talk to your nonna, go talk to your zias, your aunties, right? We're encouraged. Men are not. Men are like, stop crying. What are you, a girl? You know, so that's part of the traditional upbringing that many people, I believe, and I could be biased, are still being raised that way. Let me know what you think. So let's get back. I don't want to ignore the person's question who said, who was it again? Sorry. Geez, these lips are dry. Anyway, the question was, I can't find it now. Oh, there it is. By one. One says, how is it not? So he's asking me, how's, well, how it's not, in my opinion, is that how we define it, right? Feminism means that you want equal social and legal protection and opportunity for women. So that to me doesn't sound toxic. Does it sound toxic to you? That doesn't sound toxic to me. Right. And I, gosh, I'm going to age myself, but I took feminist studies, women's studies, it was called back in the day, in university. That wasn't my main degree, but I took a lot of classes because I was so curious about it. And that's how it was defined to me. So I think academically, that's what the definition is. And we can verify that. We should verify it if anybody wants clarification or wants to verify the definition. It's really important to define it. But that's how it was defined for me, equality. That's what I remember from day one. And it's kind of evolved a little bit to specify legal and social. But basically, we want equality. And I really want to validate what the person is saying here, who's saying, who is saying when we become equal, we kind of mesh together. I want to hear from, I think it was 499. I want to hear from them again to make sure I'm understanding them correctly. But that's kind of what equality is. And I think that's what all these gender wars that are going on, like about trans and pronouns and everything too, is because everybody wants equality, but equality does look like that, right? It would be boys and girls being treated the same. So, and some people are uncomfortable with that. And I understand because we're used to a certain way. But is it toxic is the question. What's toxic? What's toxic? We got to talk about this. I love all these comments. Thank you everyone for conversing. I love this conversation. Thank you for being here. Men tend to be rational and women tend to be emotional, but emotions trump rationalism. Oh, interesting. I've never heard anybody say that. I always hear that emotions are the unreliable. Emotions are the weaker or showing emotions, right? Even on live streams when you see these battles, not the battles where you tap, but these battles between the genders, you see like, oh, someone's becoming emotional and it's in a mocking way. So that's very interesting. Emotions trump rationalism. That's very interesting. But the question I have for you now, 499, is why are they that way? Is it because we were conditioned to be that way? Or is it because we're just naturally that way? And that biology is being questioned today. It is being questioned in a major way. Whoops, I'm moving my circle here. That's what feminism used to mean. I don't know, Floyd Daddy. Tell me, can you educate me then? Feminism now is not like that at all. Educate me on where you're seeing that. Maybe you mean like just that's what it's turned into. I can kind of agree with that. It's kind of like the whole narcissist thing, right? Like my background is in psychology, my degree. Narcissism is not what everybody is saying it is. Clinical definition of narcissism, there are very few people who fit that definition. But everybody's a narcissist according to TikTok and social media, right? It's kind of the same thing. Feminism means something clinically and definite, academically, but everybody's turned it into something else. So if that's what you mean, I kind of agree with that. I mean, culturally, and I guess we could say colloquially, we are living it in a different way. But what does it actually mean? What does it actually mean? What is the definition supposed to mean? Hello, natures, welcome. It is always the radical elements of any movement that become toxic. Yeah. And those are the ones that get shown on the news, right? Those are the ones that everybody sees on the news and they're like, that's crazy. So I can see where, that's wild. Feminism needs to be topped up to the point of equality. What does that mean? I don't understand. Feminism needs to be topped up to the point of equality. What does that mean? Topped up. What do you mean feminism needs to be topped up? Yes, libs, for sure. Hi, welcome. It depends on what wave of feminists they are. Yes, exactly. So what wave are we in now? Because my education was, I think there were 3 waves back then. What wave are we in? Are we 4th or 5th? Sister, rationalism is the zenith of emotionalism. Okay. Rationalism is the culmination of emotionalism. I don't know if I agree with that. Basically, the way I see it is 2 different sides of the brain, right? Which is biologically, like literally what it is, left and right. So it's 2 sides of the brain. I don't see one as better or worse. I feel that emotionalism informs rationalism and vice versa. But I think there's a sweet spot in the middle that really can, let's just say, get you what you want. Like, I'm a success coach. I help women to make tons of money so they can make wise decisions about their lives. And there's a sweet spot there that helps you to manifest in a wicked, amazing way. Wicked meaning a good way, not evil, right? I'm at Gen X, so that's what we called good. Wicked, kick-ass, those are the words we used. And I still use them. Amber, gaslighting seems to define narcissism these days. Yeah, and it's only one aspect, and it's actually not even in the DSM. So that's really interesting, right? I keep using the word colloquial, even though I can't say it. Colloquialism is because my mouth isn't warmed up, and also I grew up going to 2 different schools, Italian and English schools. So sometimes I screw up certain terms that I don't use often. But it's basically what is actually happening, what we see in society, and then versus textbook stuff, right? And I feel that we need to listen to the textbooks because it's kind of like that game of telephone. It gets out of control and it's just wrong by the end of it. Have you ever played that game? For anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, you sit in a circle and the first person whispers a sentence into the next person in the circle's ear. And by the time that sentence gets all the way around to the end of the circle, it's a completely different sentence. And that's what happens with humans. And I feel that's what's happening with feminism big time. And also with racism, like we talked about before, and this narcissism thing too. It's like, that's not what it means. It's been distorted. Emotions come first and rationalism dovetails. I like your perspective, 499. It's very interesting. I've never really heard it. So why, I kind of hear your intellectual discussion, but tell me from your heart, why do emotions matter more? Why do emotions matter more? Because in so many instances, dating, making money, as I talked about, because I am a businesswoman, I've been helping women build their online businesses and make incredible sales. And I do mean incredible, okay? If anyone wants to know about that, I can share, or you can check my TikTok videos. I have lots. But, 30,000 in a day kind of sales. And there's no MLM or anything like that either. It's just showing up in your power and selling and helping other people. And so in that case, we need logic. We need logic. We need logic. And we need logic in dating, if you ask me to. Logic in vetting people, dating. When we only use our heart, or when we let the subconscious rule, the subconscious mind, which would be more emotional based and led, then what happens is we just run our lives according to whatever we were taught, which is not always the best. Well-meaning, yes, but not always the best, because those fairy tales can get women in trouble. They certainly have gotten me in trouble at times. If we don't question them, if we don't learn how to vet people, get to know them before we just jump into, a life with them. It's wild. Things can get wild when the person, and in this case, we're talking about feminism. So I'm going to say when the guy is not a good one. is not a healthy one for the woman. Existentialism before textbooks. Okay, now we're getting into the spirituality zone. I remember Eckhart Tolle was one of my teachers in existentialism. A headstrong man is an emotional man. Yeah, that's true. I agree. Hello, Fred. Welcome. Welcome to the live. Yeah, I agree. So there's lots of different perspectives. There's like, since we've been on about 15 minutes, we've had quite a few people think that feminism has gotten out of control and it's really hard on men. Okay, Alex, I'll bite. What is CAM? K-A-M. What is that? Something masculinity? Kick-ass masculinity? I don't know. I just said kick-ass, so. What does that mean? CAM, enlighten us. Yes. Oh, gosh. That's just wild. I mean, I think a lot of feminists just laugh at that because they think like, it's the pendulum swing, right? Like there was a law literally that said men could hit their wives with a stick I always use my mascara. As long as your stick was this big and no bigger, then you could hit your wife with it. Like that's pretty extreme. So, in Canada, and I have to look it up to see when it was because I don't remember, but it wasn't that long ago. And so, I mean, I need to do that right now. It's very important. But because that existed, right, I feel that feminists kind of go the extreme way because we've seen our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunties, women we love and adore and admire being violently abused in our lives. And that's where the extreme comes out. So again, I can understand it, but of course I don't think that is appropriate at all. Alex, I can't say I disagree with that. That's funny. Let's see. Feminism can be abused by women who do hiring in the government. Okay, $4.99. Tell us more. What do you mean? Like they're trying to get more women into the government? Is that what you're saying? I think given the percentages of women who are in government, I think that's okay to go the other way, don't you? I would think so. This might take me a minute to find this. There it is, rule of thumb. Yeah, here it is. In the 70s, you guys. That was not that long ago. Ugh, it makes me sick. Yeah. That's not that long ago. That's disgusting. So when people come and say, oh, feminism isn't real, we don't need it anymore. It wasn't that long ago that we couldn't have credit cards, that this rule of thumb law existed. I'm just going to paste it somewhere so I can keep it for my reference. But yeah, it's pretty intense, right? So I feel like that's pendulum swings, and I feel that men would be very wise just to understand this. Again, you don't have to tolerate anything. You don't tolerate abuse. I would never be with someone who doesn't want me to exist. That's horrific what Alex just shared, and thank you for Alex for sharing that, and thank you for following and for the hearts. Alex, Fred says, new government soon, be patient. Unfortunately, I think that we should not, I hope so, Fred. Unfortunately, I think that we should not hire based on minority, but skill. Yeah, I agree. But more women are graduating university than men right now. So I would argue that they probably have more skills if they're for government, not for everything. You don't need to graduate university for everything, but for government, for sure. Yeah. But again, like, it's interesting, right? Because the thing is if you want to talk about balancing, should we go to the extreme in order to balance it out? It's the same with racism. Should we go to the extreme to balance it out? That's a question we can answer. James, go ahead. Welcome to the live. Please go ahead. Canada is mature enough, 499 says. The focus should be on productivity. Okay. Would you rather have a job where you're in a high-rise building, you don't have too much work? I see where you're going, James, but please continue. But you don't get paid much. Okay, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I'm not going to assume I know where you're going with this. I just feel like I am feeling it. And I love this question. Would you rather work in a sewer making a 6-figure salary? Yeah. You know, I feel that men say, James, I'm talking to you. I feel that men say a lot, like when women don't want to do those jobs. And it's true, but it's because we're socialized, right? Like even in my house, right? I'm sitting here doing feminist lives. In my house, Chris takes out the garbage and I'm like, ew, right? But it's so conditioned is my point. It's conditioned in me. When I didn't live with Chris, I've lived with him for 10 years now. But when I didn't live with him, I took out the garbage. Did I think it was gross? Yes. I still think even changing the litter box is disgusting, right? But I still did it. So I feel like it's more of a matter of, and I know I'm not answering a question, and I will, okay? I'm going to respect you and answer the question directly. But I want to just start with this because it's relevant to the topic. I feel that it's trained, it's conditioning. It's how we were taught by a system that has not equalized men and women yet and is still working on that. So because we were taught that, that's sort of a conditioned response. So if you ask me in my conditioned self, I'm going to be like, fuck no, I don't want to do that, right? Chris has a very tough job, but very dangerous, okay? And I'm like, I don't even pray. And I'm like, oh God, please, please let him be okay when he leaves, right? It's intense, but he makes great money. Those jobs pay a lot. So if I am in my conditioned self, then no, I'm not going to want to do those jobs. And I'm saying this for the benefit of men here too, because I know you love this conversation just as much as I do. We love talking about it. So it's wise to realize that women who are conditioned like that, but if we were left to our own devices and we didn't have the imbalance, I feel that we would just do it just like I clean the litter box. Like, women, tell me the truth, everyone. Answer yes or no to this question, everyone. And I am going to get back to you, James. I always go back and read all the comments, so I will answer you directly, but tell me the truth in the comments below, okay? Tell me the truth. Are women more tolerable with baby poop? Yes or no? Yes or no? In your experience, in your life. Do women tolerate baby poop more easily than the men that you know? Yes or no? Sammy says yes. Okay, let's see what everybody else says. Maybe I should do a poll. Baby poop poll, anyone? How do we do a poll? I haven't been live in a while. I can't remember. Because that is, in my experience, Chris can't stand it. He's like barfing. He's like, ugh. Even when they're his own kids, right? He's like, ugh. For me, I'm like, oh, that's my baby. Even with my cats, it's disgusting. I'm not going to lie. But even with them, I'm like, oh, poor baby, right? Like when we take them to the vet, it's a whole shit show, literally. They poop in the box. It's because they live in the woods. They're not used to a lot of like movement. They're used to this peace and quiet. And then we take them in the car and bring them to the city to the vet, and they just shit in the box, right? It's so disgusting. But because they're my babies, I'm like, I got you. It's okay. It's gross. And Chris is like, so in my world, I'm a yes, but I want to hear everything. I want to hear others' experience because I know and I'm aware that I'm not the only one in the world, right? We all have different experiences. But James, let me tell you, James, I got to be honest because I'm a badass businesswoman and I have been for 13 years. And I have created $25,000 cash in a day doing what I love, mentoring, right? So I'm not going to work in no office building. But I have picked up dog poop. When I was building my business, I used to nanny and I used to pick up dog poop. And again, isn't it interesting? The crappiest jobs in the world pay the most, right? The reason I did that is because I was always looking for temporary positions while I was building up my business to where it is now. So I was looking for temporary positions and I would look up nanny positions all the time because they had summer jobs or whatever. Even though I had a degree, I wanted to make my business work. So I stopped doing the office jobs and the jobs that made me work like a dog around the clock and took all my energy because I was in social work. That's the work I did for 20 years. I stopped doing that, and then I looked on Craigslist back then, and there was this job where you could pick up dog poop, and it paid like $26 an hour, which was a lot back then before the pandemic. And so I was like, I'm picking up dog poop. I don't care because it allows me to work less hours, and I'll make a whole bunch of money, and I just need a bunch of money to live so that I could keep building my business. And I'm so glad I did that, but it was disgusting. Okay. But to answer your question, the sewer is gross. But I would have my PPE on, which is protective. What does it mean? Protective equipment, something. I can't remember. So there's my answer to James. Okay, I wanted to respect you and answer your questions directly, everyone. Fred says sewer. Yeah, Fred's like, sewer's disgusting. Yeah, sewer is different than just picking up dog poop. But let me tell you, oh my God, you guys, I can barf right now, okay? This is why I left the position. I'm seriously, this makes me barf. But I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you quick because I got to get it out. But let's just say, so I was picking up dog poop, right? What it was is it was a business that went to your home. It goes to people's homes and it picks up dog's poop off the lawn, or you can pick it up yourself off the lawn and then put it in a bag and we come and pick up the bag, or we go in your lawn and we pick it up with this, like, we don't touch it. We just pick it up with this like long pooper scooper thing, right? Oh, I can't. The place where we put all the poop was nasty. Okay, like there was this garage with this big vat where they put it all in. It was so disgusting. That part, look at me, like I'm like, that was worse than a sewer because it was concentrated. Okay, I'm done. I can't talk about it anymore. I can't. Ugh. I see women getting top jobs only to leave it after a short while. Yeah, $4.99. There's lots of reasons for that. Okay, there's tons of reasons. Those jobs, I feel so nauseous, you guys. Those jobs often have a lot of men, obviously, because that's traditionally how it was. Men were the leaders of the family. Nothing wrong with that. But the laws I have a problem with that were running society at the time. But I need some freaking lip gloss or something. But my lips are so dry. But, you know, it's not comfortable for women to, especially when we've been sheltered at home and we're not used to all the jokes and stuff in certain industries, right? Let's say construction. There's a lot of sexist jokes that go on, and, you know, and even if you just watch Three's Company, it's like so sexist, but that's the way it was. And so we're not comfortable there. So that's one of the reasons we leave. And I'm thinking about studies that I've read. Okay. I'm not just making shit up in my head. Studies about mining, women who have tried mining jobs. That's the most studied industry that I've seen so far, but let me know if you know of more, anyone. If you do research, I love reading research. But there was an intense, like, detailed study done on women who were joining the mining industry and why they left so early. And that was one of the main reasons. It wasn't danger. It was the men's club aspect. Like, they could not tolerate that. And I don't blame them. I don't like people making sexual jokes about me at all. It feels like I'm being objectified. I don't like it. Let's see. Flowers, thank you for the flowers, Carl. I appreciate those. Cute. Equal but seen men grossed out. Yeah. Men get grossed out. Yeah. Grossed out by baby poop, I think you're talking about. But I'm sure there's men who get grossed out by the same things I'm talking about too, and by the same things that women get that get grossed out about. But as I mentioned before, one thing I feel is very toxic in our culture is not letting men have those feelings or discuss it. Like, they're not allowed to say that. I'm just being dramatic and using a huge generalization and being extreme. But for the most part, men aren't allowed to say, that's too disgusting. I don't want to go to work. That's too disgusting. I don't want to go and work there. Right? If they say that, they're kind of like, the other men especially are like, really? You know? So I feel that's very toxic. James says, except puke, I can't stand the sounds or sight of smell of it. Yeah, that's pretty gross. I don't mind my cat puke. I really don't, because it's small. But Chris is disgusted by it. He can't even pick it up. He can, but feminism and university education has been proven by statistics to be harmful to women. Okay, Redfish 2, tell me how, please. Higher divorce rates, okay, you did, awesome. Higher divorce rates, higher depression rates, and it affects their ability to love. That's interesting. I want to see some studies, especially on the last one. I want to read about that. What I've read about higher divorce rates right now, it's quite well researched. I think it's 60% or 57% of women are leading the divorces today. But what I've read is because of the weaponized incompetence in the home, and because of just men not understanding the unpaid labor aspect and fighting over that. That's what I've read. And so women are just like, I'm done. I'd rather go live by myself, clean my own apartment, not have to take care of another grown person, and just do that and take care of me. And if she has children, just her and her children, right? Whereas there are lots of couples, and this is where I always talk about hope because I really believe in it. When you sit down and talk to each other, and if the guy, and I say guy meaning, a not ideal guy, if the guy is going to be like, no, I don't care, I want you to do everything that women used to do, and still go to work and pay half the bills, and he's benefiting greatly, and it's imbalanced in that way in the home. If that's happening, then she's just going to be like, see ya, right? But because she doesn't need him today, technically she doesn't. And she could definitely find another guy or another man. She could find another partner. There's lots of men who will be like, no, that's not fair. We both do half and half, and whoever doesn't do their half has to pay for someone to do their half, right? You can pay your partner to do it if you don't want to do your share, or you can go ahead and hire a cleaner or something. But that is why the divorce rates are too high from what I've seen. Sammy, dog poop, I just leave to decompose, but I have a yard, yeah. I mean, that's what I would do when we get a dog again. That's one of the reasons we're not getting another dog. I love dogs, but I don't want to pick up their poop outside. It's gross. It's big too. Cat poop is small. Okay, I'm getting way off topic and disgusting. James, the reason why the crappiest jobs pay the best is because people don't want to do them. Exactly. I was all over the dog poop job. I was like, I knew that. I'm like, this is why it's on Craigslist. It was there all the time. And I'm like, but that house, that garage, oh my God, that was nasty. I know that's the reason a lot of people left. And the two guys who ran the company, they were so awesome, honestly. They had huge hearts. They'd been doing it for 20 years, but they could not find anybody. They could not find anybody to do the work on a regular basis. And when they opened that garage, they were so happy. They're like, welcome to the shit garage. And I'm like, oh my God. I left shortly after that, after they introduced me to that garage. I was like, I can't. But I have to say I didn't leave just because of that, because I had already made enough money, and that was the purpose of my job. And I told them it was short term. I was honest. I was like, you guys, you're entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur. I want to be straight with you. I'm here just to make my bills until my business kicks off. Right? And they're like, we get it. We need anybody. Come on in. And they paid me well. I lasted as long as I could. And that was that. Let's see. I love this conversation. Thank you for everyone who's joining. Thank you for following. And thank you for sending hearts. I appreciate it. Let's see. Great conversation here, guys. I'm just trying to see where I left off. Someone said the Golden Girls. That's so funny. Oh, thank you. Personal protective equipment. Thank you, Kendra, if you're still here. I appreciate it. I'm like, what? My brain's not fully awake yet. That's one of the reasons I like doing these lives in the morning. It wakes up my brain. Okay, I found it. My loves. If anyone wants to come and join me and chat, you only need 200 followers to be a guest. So come join if you want to say hi. Usually we get quite a few people in these lives that come and join after a while. It just takes a bit to get out there. People would be better off listening to God. Okay. I forget what you said earlier. Let me check. You were talking about the statistics that are harmful to women. Yeah. So he's saying that, or she, I don't know, they are saying, Redfish 2 is saying that people would be better off listening to God than feminism. So that's interesting. Fred says, yeah, I agree with Fred where he says things related to feminism, all things related to feminism is negative, or did you just cherry pick? That's a good question. PPE, warm spring breeze. Hello, welcome. Yes, feminism has turned toxic and more a misandrist movement than equality. Okay, that's in practicality. You guys, my brain needs to wake up. I don't even drink coffee anymore. I used to when I worked in an office that I hated. Now I just drink water, so it takes a minute for my brain to wake up. And I had these, I normally eat very healthy, and yesterday I ate these yummy gourmet cinnamon buns. Oh my God, they were so good. I ate 2 of them. I allow myself treats, but it fucks up my brain for real. I don't do well with sugar. Yes, I am Italian. And I grew up very natural, like eating from the garden. So that's why I don't do well with chemicals and sugar, but I still indulge here and there. Yeah, so in practicality, we see that it does get toxic. There's misandry. It does swing that pendulum all the way to the other side, like I always talk about, because of the extreme way it was before. It's swinging to the other side. So we do see hints and tones of that. But I don't think that most feminists feel that way, as far as I can see. I could be wrong. Kurt, welcome. Kurtism. That's a cute name. I like that. Agreed. It has turned to men hating, not equality. But there are some non-men hating. Yeah, absolutely. I'm one of them. I love men. I love my man. I love men. Right. But I also really want equality. I've seen my nonna, my grandmothers, my cousins, my sisters, my best friends, like just ruined by things that go on that are, unequal in terms of law and social access and social opportunities. And that's where it bothers me. And that's why I do these live streams. And also, I have a business in full transparency. I think everybody knows that. I talk about it once in a while, but I help women to make huge sales online. That's what I do. There's no MLM. It's just whatever business you're in. I've been doing this for 13 years, and this is a huge obstacle that gets in the way from these women making the money that they can make, right? Which, by the way, helps men when we make shit tons of money, like $25,000 in a day, which I made cash, right? Doing this, just mentoring women, helping women. I've done lots of speaking events and stuff like that too. I've run online courses. I love this work. I love it. It's my passion. So give me a follow if you want more information about that, or send me a message. But yeah, this is a huge obstacle. Women overworking in the home, that's unequal. That's inequality. And that's something that's still very active that needs to be shifted. Why is my nose acting up? I think I'm detoxing all the crap I ate yesterday. What else did I eat? I think that was it. I usually don't have craft dinner in the house, but Chris likes it. So I was going to make some. I was fantasizing about it yesterday. I think my menstrual cycle must be coming because I'm having these cravings. And also my cat was in surgery last week. So I was like, so I think I just want all this. But yeah, I didn't eat it. So I don't know why my nose. Anyway. Warm Spring Breeze says you can find outliers in any group. Yeah, so it was the Golden Girls. Golden Girls is an older reference. Can you believe those Golden Girls were my age? Like, they were in their, actually, I'm older than the Golden Girls. Look at me. I look so different. It's so interesting how different we look. It was that the workplace didn't change the environment for them. The workplace didn't change the environment for them. Yeah. But women have always been put into what we call the pink trades, right? So caregiving, teaching, secretary, that's generally what they go into. So the environments there are not, we do deal with poop. We do deal with danger with kids. We have to, that's serious. Raising tomorrow's humans is the most important job, if you ask me. And it shouldn't be the least paid, but they're all the least paid. So the environment hasn't changed for them, but we always have to look at the system, the context. Too many insane people join a movement, but with feminism, no one on the side calls out the crazies. I'll be honest with you, Kurt, like, where are the crazies? I genuinely ask this. I know some people get sassy, and I get sassy sometimes, but I'm genuinely, honestly asking you, where are the crazies? Because I don't see them too often. I don't see them. Maybe as men, you see them more often. I literally don't. I see the women that I see who are feminists in person and on TikTok, they don't seem insane to me. So, but there are sometimes women who come on my lives. And like I said, it normally gets quite busy. I haven't had my algorithm going lately. But normally I have 100, 150 people here. We've got a lot of people in the panels, right? And there are women, again, whose rage comes bubbling out. And I got to, rein that in. So I know what you're talking about, and I understand it. And that's why I'm a good teacher of this. And that's why I have the business I do and why it thrives. So I understand why it's there, and I teach women how to manage that. But absolutely, if that's what you're talking about. I don't see it too often, though, and except in my teaching and coaching capabilities, like in my role, I don't see it too often. So yeah, I'd love to have examples. If you can send me names, I want to see, because I don't see it. If you ever see one, and next time you see one, think of me. Give me a follow. Think of me. Send me a DM. I want to see. Rather than figure out how to fit in, they demand the world to change for them. Well, I don't think that we want to fit into a system that doesn't respect us, meaning, it was ruled by violence, literally, in the law. As I mentioned before, if you're just joining, there was a law that said you could beat your woman, because they were like property, as long as the stick wasn't bigger than this. And this is just an example of the size. If it's any bigger, we got to talk, But if it's within this range, you're good. You're good. See you. Have a nice day, sir. That's how the courts treated you. So that's a problem that's embedded in the system. That's oppression that's embedded. It doesn't go away easily. So we don't want to fit into that or the remnants of that system. Absolutely not. Why would we do that? That's insane. That's like, we'd have to be masochists to ourselves to do that. That's crazy. I think feminism, just like BLM, is at the root good. Yeah. But then extremists come in and make it bad. Yeah. Well, that's the pendulum again. Even with the BLM, part of me was like, well, I understand why they're so extreme. It's not okay. It's wild. Just like the women sometimes that come in my live streams, and I'm like, okay, I validate their emotions, but they start attacking or whatever. And men do it too here when we have the panel, kicking. And today I'm not sure how much we're going to build up, because I do need to go quite soon, probably in about, 45 minutes or so. So we'll see how much it builds up. But either way, I think there is extreme. But yeah, I see your point. It's valid. It's kind of like, what's that? And some people were saying that those were paid actors, etc. What was the Antifa? Some people were saying that they plant people like that in the movement to make people go, oh, that's disgusting, and give it a bad name, so it stops the power of the movement, which is really interesting to me. And what do you guys think? Do you think that's possible? I mean, I think that's interesting. But yeah, makes all of us go, oh, that's terrible. It's kind of like that expression, there's always one bad apple or whatever, and it ruins it for the rest of the bunch. Men's club aspect. Is there a way to create our own spaces over demolishing all of theirs? Yeah, exactly. I love that. Yeah, maybe that's the next step, Amber, is creating our own spaces that work in conjunction with theirs until we all evolve and get to the point where we can play nice together. I like that. That's awesome. I agree, Fred. It didn't start as a scam. It got overtaken by scammers. They're talking about BLM. Okay. The reason why men don't share our feelings is the reason you said we are conditioned not to. Exactly. And it's really sad. I think that's horrible. I don't think any human could be healthy. And that's why I believe we see so many domestic violence, like why it's overwhelmingly men, over 80% who do the domestic violence, who attack their women, who assault women, right? And that goes for SA too. For the SA, it's over 96%. For the domestic violence, I believe it's 86%, still both very, very high. And I believe that one of the root causes is nobody is teaching men, or they weren't anyway in the past, to express themselves, to have healthy emotions. Instead, it's all built out. And of course they're going to explode, right? Also, men fought in wars, so they have major PTSD. And if they're not encouraged to get treatment, get help, again, express themselves, ask for help, be vulnerable, then they're fucked. And that's really sad. I feel it's really sad. I saw my father go through that, and I love my dad, right? But he had PTSD so bad, he would explode so bad and cause so much damage. And it's horrific. It's a lot of work I had to do on myself to be able to see both sides. But it's true. Like, when I learned his history, I went to where he grew up in Italy. I was like, holy shit, this town, this government created monsters. That was fascism after the war. It created monsters in men. So I have compassion for that big time. The original leaders stole the money. So it was, okay, we're talking about BLM. We have been told since we were little boys, if something's wrong, man up and deal with it. Yeah, that breaks my heart, James, honestly. It breaks my heart. I often ask Chris, and he's used to me now and he trusts me, but you know, at the beginning, he was very uncomfortable. He's like, why is this woman asking how I feel if I'm okay? He's like, nobody ever asked me that. It's sad. And I don't want to give out his personal life or anything, but I mean, it's sad. I think it's so sad. Breaks my heart. The only time we share feelings is if we are in a group of other men and we make it really bad jokes. Okay, interesting. I always wondered about that. We have people that come on here sometimes who belong to men's groups, and they share how men are more comfortable sharing their feelings in those groups. Because you got to realize that women are conditioned by the patriarchy too, right? We're taught, we treat you how we were told to treat you, like man up. You know, we're not doing it to be mean. Like we're conditioned that way too. So we're thinking, why is that guy acting like that, right? Which is terrible. That is terrible for men. I disagree. Yes, I'm Italian Froggy. Hello, welcome back. But yeah, those ladies who started the organization, not the movement, but the company were scammers. They're talking about BLM. Hold on. Yeah, I'm behind on the chat. I'm getting there. Let me work backwards because it seems I'm quite behind. Where are all the crazies watching Middle Ground enlighten me to feminazis? Yeah, I want to see those too. I hear a lot of talk about feminazis, but I'm like, where are they? I really do want to see them. So let me see. Hub is saying, and then you spend it all on food. Who are you talking to? And he's dead. I don't know what he's talking about. How is feminism not toxic? We already discussed that one. Do you remember? Did you leave? I answered your question. Is the answer to some, but not all. I'm not religious, but I understand why some need it, because sometimes women need a way to speak, but it's been overtaken. Exactly. That's right, Kurt. Feminism is at its core not bad, but current fourth wave feminists are a problem. Why are all fourth wave feminists a problem? See, I don't think I remember from university anyway, the fourth wave. Let me see. Fourth wave feminism. I'm looking up for the technical definition of fourth wave feminism for us guys. Started around 2012, characterized by a focus on the empowerment of women, the use of internet tools, and intersectionality. What's the problem with that? Thank you, Fred, for saying that. Mountain Guy's trolling. Mountain Guy is trolling. I mean, he's got some boomer ways. You can see that. Mountain Guy says 25 years married to a real woman. No arguments. It's awesome. Okay, so to Mountain Guy, right? Here's toxicity. To Mountain Guy, a woman who doesn't speak up, who doesn't argue, is a real woman. Now, I agree that a healthy relationship doesn't have fighting, right? But disagreeing or speaking up is different. And I'm only saying that not based on this comment, but his other comments as well. So, rude. There is some research that shows that it's only when a man is out of the house that the incarceration rates increase. Okay. Actually, Kurt is correct. From some of the research I've read, like the highest rate of domestic violence is when the woman is leaving. That's when the woman is at greatest risk for domestic violence. So technically, she would be out of the house at that point, and they would be separated. So that is true. The woman may not need the men, but arguably the children very much need a masculine presence. Yeah, and women can have masculine presence too, especially today, right? Not all men like that. But there are lots of women who have masculine, like in lesbian relationships, there are strong masculine presence in some of those, and not even without them, a woman who is arguably a single mom, working, always on, always leading, like that's masculine energy, right? What is masculine energy? We have to define that because I've heard tons of discussions about that. Okay, I think I caught up in the comments. Look at me go. Drake, some is the idea behind it was good and equal, but it's not something too far gone. It's something too... He says, this is literally what he said, but not it's something too far gone. So I think there might be a typo there. I don't get it. What is your opinion on Pearl? She is advocating for women to go back in the kitchen and cannot vote. I need to check out Pearl. Who's Pearl? Tell me more about Pearl, Fred. But you just did. She's advocating. I gotta get rid of this light. It's really bugging me. Can you guys still see me? Normally I have my big iPad and I could see it easier, but there's a huge light in my face and the text is small. I think that women, how I feel about Pearl's perspective from what you've shared right now, I don't know Pearl for the record, but from people who how I feel about people who advocate for women to go back in the kitchen and not vote. Where I feel that's coming from, what I've learned from great men on my channel, is that back in the day, men could not vote, or women could not vote because there was it was based on family, and men were leading the family. So that's why women could not vote. So I'm curious, and I'm guessing, I'm like 99% sure the reason she's saying that is because she's advocating for families. She wants families to be back in a strong unit again. And having traditional roles allows the family unit to function strongly, right? I agree that men and women working together makes a strong family unit. Okay, whatever that looks like. Whatever that looks like. But what I don't agree with is the women doing all that domestic work and only getting her bills paid or half the bills paid. I think that's wrong. I think that's taking advantage of the woman. If you look at how much work she does in the home, and that's normally, to be honest, what my topics are. I wanted to try this topic and I think I'll do it again. I quite enjoy it. But usually my topic is about domestic labor because that's what I'm passionate about. I feel that that's a huge problem in society, especially if the guy is not ideal and he ends up leaving the woman and then she's older. I was just listening to a live stream before this while I was doing my makeup, and an older woman came on. She's 65 and she's like, this guy's an asshole. Like, she didn't say that, but her husband, who she's been married to for 30 years, is drinking. He's violent. And, she's leaving him. But the first thing I thought is what I'm seeing in the statistics that concerns me as a woman, especially as a leader in my community and a leader of women in the business community, is that what are they going to do when they turn that age? If they've been giving their whole entire lives to a household, cleaning, laundry, homeschooling some of them, taking care of children, raising children, all the appointments, the doctor's appointment, managing the whole house, all of that, cooking, right? If they've been doing all of that for 30 years, they don't have a strong resume. This capitalistic society does not value that. So if they're in that position and then they turn, in their 60s and the guy is not great and he says, I want a 20-year-old now, screw you. And he's been making her work and pay half the bills, that he's got the money to afford a 20-year-old, because there's no other reason a 20-year-old would want an older man like that. They'd rather have the young guy for sure, but young guys don't have tons of money. So that's the only reason. And so, yeah, she is SOL. She's screwed. And that's my concern about society. We're seeing those homelessness rates go up, those houselessness rates go up for women of a certain age because of this issue. And that's a big problem. That's due to domestic labor and being taken advantage of. Drake says, some is the original idea behind it was good and equal, but it's not something too far gone. Oh, it's something too far gone. Okay, now he rephrased it. That makes sense, Drake. Thank you. I type like that sometimes too. I'm like, what did I even just write? But yeah. So I hear what you're saying. And I agree that in some ways it has gone too far. But we need to bring it back to the healthy stance and define what it actually is, which is equality in the social and justice and legal arenas. So we want to bring it back to that. Okay. Yeah. Okay, guys, I think we got everybody. We got a guest. Hello, Amber. Welcome. Welcome, my love. Hello.
Hi, Dee.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. I've been listening, as you have seen, and I feel like, for one, I'm going to enter this ring not against you, but like as a woman speaking up. I can be seen as negative because I'm a woman and I come across as not as feminist. I believe that I think men's rights are being taken away in certain areas. And I think, unfortunately, what that does is create the pendulum swing towards them, right? And so, like, as much as I believe in, like, equal rights for women's pay and getting like the same job pay the same for a woman, and the legal aspects, stuff like, not having a change room in the men's bathroom, or not having, these little disparity things that men still need and are being taken away, like the gaming industry, having men have those spaces removed because women are entering into that space, right? And we're not making our own space within theirs. I feel like we're disservicing them. And so it's hard to be a feminist being like true in our values when I feel like we're tearing them down, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. It's kind of, is it kind of like what someone else was saying earlier about how we become enmeshed? Like there's no individualization anymore between the two? Is that kind of what
Mhm.
you're saying? And is that, I hear what you're saying, but is that like the bottom line where
Well,
there's
it
no
is.
space? Yeah.
There's no spaces, but there's also a lot of shame that goes into it because we're swinging to the other pendulum. We have men who are stepping up in those traditional roles. Like my husband stays home with the kids, cooks, cleans, but he feels shame that he's not participating in those patriarchal money value things. And
Yes.
we're doing that as well. And so there's even shame for feminine people to be out of the traditional role and go to work
Yeah.
and do those jobs, and they're getting shamed when they stay at home and
Yes.
not provide, right? So it's happening all over the place, and I think that we need to just be nicer to each other on both sides, really.
Yeah, and I feel like really claiming what you choose too. Like claim it. Like I know it's hard. I hear what you're saying. Like it's hard. Chris has that too sometimes. He's I can see that in him too when he's not doing something that's traditionally masculine, right? I can see that too. But I feel like education really helps first of all. Like that's the whole point of this conversation. Like gender is a social construction, right? So it's made up is what it is. Somebody said this is what masculine is and this is what feminine is, right? And what I like to look at is the biological differences. So there are certain biological differences, but I leave it at that. And the only thing that I've seen is body size. And that's what
Mhm.
testosterone helps with is body size. That's the only thing I've seen that's hard evidence today of the differences. So that's what helps me personally. And I'd love to hear what you think to just say, okay, the rest is what we choose, right? It's just like me. I'm a success coach for women and I help women to make tons of money. Imagine the shame that I've seen, first of all, with myself and them over the years, right? Because it's like massive amounts, like $25,000 in a day. That's someone's salary. So there's lots of shame that comes with us, it comes at us. But when we stand up for ourselves and we say, hey, I'm helping my family, right?
Yeah.
You match their language, like they're saying that's bullshit. That's separating families. It's like, no, I'm actually helping my family tons. My man doesn't have to work because of that. You know what I mean? Like, so when we claim it, but that's the work, and I love the word you use. You're very wise. Shame is a big deal. Shame shuts people down and it deactivates them. Like it just basically just removes their power in an instant. So when we can learn how to deal with shame as humans, then we can stand in our power and say, this works for us. This is what we choose. And it's really hard because there's loud voices, but I want you to have the most powerful voice in your head as the most loudest voice in your head. The one that, what, like, dig deep. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this for my family, right?
Mhm.
So nothing's going to change or affect that when we really tap in. So I feel like it's like this inner work that needs to be done that will help everyone. What do you think about that?
I think it's true, but I think it also comes from the people that are in your circles, right? So we have so many different circles that are involved with us that project a certain way of living. And unless those are torn down, like broadly, in the sense of like families, external families, agreeing with the non-patriarchal system, then we're never going to get to that end goal. And so it positions that continuous shame because it's outside of just your best friend, right? It's someone that's in your life, in your career, and then it's, the teacher that's dealing with your kid, making presumptions about you as well. So it's hard.
It's very hard, but how do we make social change? We got to
Yeah.
push against those systems. And what I found, like when I first made my first $30,000 week, and I don't belong to an MLM, like I just mentor women online to help them make more money in their online businesses, right? That's literally what I've been doing for 13 years. And so in 2014, I made $30,000 in a week. My best friend disowned me. And my mom did not react the way that I wanted her to, like that I expected, right? I was like, let's go to Florida, mom. She always wanted to go to Florida. We grew up with not a lot of money. Right.
Mhm.
And so when she reacted that way, like it broke my heart in a million pieces. Right. I'm like, what? And of course, there's lots of money stuff I had to learn. Like, money's not everything. I had to learn all of that. Right. And when you start making that kind of money, you do realize it in a really harsh way. But at the same time, you also get to see, okay, if I want to keep making that money to support my family and be there for my mom if she ever needs me, even though she's treating me this way, then I got to figure out a way to be in my power. Again, it doesn't have to be about money. I'm just using that as an example because it's what I do professionally. But it can be like, taking a stand for my man staying home and, being in the more feminine role and being in your power in that way and just allowing people to have their opinions. Because that's what love is accepting each other, allowing them to be how they are and what they say, and allowing us to be how we are, and dealing with that shame inside so that it doesn't take us down and we can still be loving and graceful. Because the last thing we want to do is be one of those extremists, right? Who are like, fuck you, so like freaking out, right? Because they're not going to accept that either. And nobody respects that. But it is part of the process that we got to do inside of ourselves in order to get to this empowered place where we can stand there, whether it's how much you want to make or how much, you want to retire your husband, or if he wants to stay home and cook and clean, right? Which I don't see anything wrong with that at all. Zero.
And I like what you're saying, but I feel like the identity of feminism is to push female forward. And so I feel like unless we're having these conversations like you are right now about your husband and creating space for them as well, I think we're doing a disservice to them by constantly saying us first, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I don't think that's what feminist is saying. I love what you're saying about creating space, though. I really love that. But I don't think feminists are saying that it's us first. I think they're just saying us need to be
Yeah.
included.
Yeah.
Include us, not us first, not us better. Include us,
Mhm.
right? We need a space here. We don't want to be, we don't want to have statistics in the world where 80% of men are not 80, that's wrong. I have to be careful how I phrase that. 80% of domestic violence cases are men. That's a
Yeah.
gender issue. That's a gender inequality issues. 96% of SA cases are men against women. That's a serious gender equality. So those kinds of things are the things that feminists, healthy feminists, in my opinion, are concerned about. And we're advocating for social change so that women aren't afraid, because the fact that those statistics exist means that a lot of women are living in fear, not just of that, right? But just in general. What woman do you know that walks down the street at night and doesn't feel like she has to be careful and watch herself, right? That's the thing that I want to change, and what I'm pushing to change, but it has ripple effects to everything. But I love what you're saying. Like I really do hear what you're saying about spaces and creating spaces for us so that we can come to the equal place. We need spaces in order to do that. But yeah, what do you think about what I'm saying, how I responded to you, that it's not about putting women first at all?
Um, well, two parts. So, like, when you say that there's a lot of SA cases and domestic violence, um, I come from a place where I have been SA'd, and I feel like I have, my father was SA'd and things like that as well. And I feel like amongst everybody, we all are silent, but the male community is very much silent to those things. They don't talk about those things. So they're very underreported, and those could be an issue where they're not getting as much statistical evidence because they're not reporting as well. I'm not saying that they're higher than us, right? I still think that, women do have more domestic violence cases, but I think that the way that we handle things, because we view men as like the people who are to take responsibility, it feels like they may be underrepresented in that area as well. But that's something that we'll see change over time as we go as well. The second part to that is actually something that's
Can I respond
conflicting
to
with
that?
my own inference. Yeah,
Can I respond to that quickly? Because I'll forget.
yeah.
So there are ways to check for that and control that bias of unreporting, right? There are polls that are taken. There are other ways that you can control for that in
Mhm.
research as well. And I just want to say, like, women are really underreport as well. Imagine how many women are underreporting as well, right? So I intuitively, given like looking at all of this research and understanding how it works, I intuitively would say that it's still overwhelmingly male. That's why I'm confidently using those statistics because of all those factors. So what do you think about that?
I agree with you on that side. I just feel like they're underreported extremely as well. And so like that's why I want to give them grace. Like we come from a place of like they do so much more. And I'm like, well, there still needs to be that conversation for them as well.
Absolutely. And you heard me talk about that here, right? Today,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
lot. Like I really
Yeah.
support that and agree with you. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
let's hear your point too.
My point too is just something that's against my own point as well is that um when it comes to government, like I mentioned this earlier in the chat, when it comes to government presence and some different industries, I feel like the diversity of allowing, like, you have to have 20 positions filled by women, I think should be just based on how we like apply to the position or qualified for the position, not that those 20 positions have to be existed for women only, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I agree that it has to be based on skill, but I also, like you keep talking about space, I feel like we have to have a space to reconcile things as well, right? Because it
Yeah.
was so extreme before. And if it was just me sitting here going, it's so extreme and it's my opinion, then I'd be like, girl, to myself and women like me, I'd be like, girl, stop it. You don't have any ground to stand on. But we actually have statistics that show women are still being paid less, right?
Yeah.
And all the other statistics we mentioned today. So because of that, we've got to take a look at how we're going to equalize and balance that. And that's a great question. I don't have all the answers, but that's why I have these discussions to try to figure it out and find ways. But I can see how, I really hear your love for men, and I have a lot of love for men too. Like I mentioned, my dad grew up really horribly. I feel for him so much. And he didn't have a place to talk. He didn't have a place to share. He didn't have a place to just be a human, you know? So I always consider that too. I do my best, but I do see a real social problem in Canada and North America right now too. So it's really interesting to find solutions, and I appreciate you contributing to the discussion.
I appreciate you too, Gina. I've got to run just because my little one's crying, but I will stay in the chat and thank you for having me up.
Thank you, Amber. Take care. Love to your little ones. So cute. Absolutely the same as chauvinism, as what JD is saying. Hello, JD. Welcome. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome, guest. Hi. How are you?
I'm good. It's a good chat so far. It's nice that everybody's being fair and expressing what they think.
I agree.
Um, I was hoping to talk to that lady that just left because she had some points there that I agreed with and had a little bit more input, but now I can't even remember what I was thinking. But
Okay.
anyway, I spoke to you earlier and and then I had to go. So I wanted to further what I said. Like feminism right now in my opinion, is taken on a whole different thing from what I would consider feminism as I grew up and what I do myself as a feminist. I have two grown daughters, and I've always supported them in any role that they choose to um, go after. So feminism is important. I just feel like right now, and you obviously aren't the lady or the person I'm talking about, the people I'm talking about. You obviously are being fair and level-headed. The problem with right now, I think, it's not just with the feminism, it's with the trans, it's with um, just about anything any topic that is in discussion right now. The problem is we have the hyper minority in each group talking so loud that what the majority is actually going after is muted right now, to some extent at least. And I think that's the biggest problem with most topics, this one included. But something I wanted to say, because you guys are talking about SA, and something I personally think we should try to start doing is separating out grape from SA, because my reason for that is because everything I've learned in my 60 years of paying attention is that I don't see anyone that's disagreed with the feeling that grape is not about sex. It's about dominance and control and that sort of thing. Do you agree on that? Can you give me your point of
100%.
view?
100%. It's about power. Yeah.
Right. So I would really hope that somewhere down the road we start kind of separating the two, because it's hard to fix one problem, or it's hard to fix two problems, and that's, I see it as being two separate problems. And we, on these lives in particular, people tend to group too many topics together, and that makes it difficult to really be clear about what you're saying about one or the other. There's too much overlap. It gets confusing to people.
So can you help me understand what is the difference between essay and grape that you feel is important to differentiate between the two?
Just what I said. The biggest thing is that grape is typically done for a different reason than sexual assault to a large extent.
Oh,
Like,
I didn't hear you say that second part. Okay, so you feel SA is different.
well, in the respect of the majority of the cases are done for a different reason.
What is
The,
the reason?
in the person's head, the perpetrator's head, what they're thinking and why they're doing what they're doing is two different things, it seems to me.
What is the reason for the sexual assault part, the SA?
I think the main thing is, I don't think that the majority, and I could be wrong on this, but I've tried to find stuff to support or dissupport it. But I don't think that the majority of SA is done with the intention to hurt the other person. I think most times it's either out of stupidity or misdirection or just immaturity, that they're doing more than what they should have and not looking for the signs. I don't feel like the intention is to harm the other person, where grape is, from what I understand, almost always about that.
Yeah, I agree with you in the terms of child essay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because in child essay, I think it's more about that. And studies show that they cannot control themselves due to, I don't want to say genetic, I don't even know the actual, but it's biological reasons of attraction to children, right?
Right.
Which is why recidivism is so high. Like it's nearly uncontrollable. Like
Well,
people.
okay, maybe that needs to be another distinction. I never really thought about that one because I was focused on the grape part of it. And I can see that maybe that needs to be another column on its own as
Right. So
well.
what are the other columns is what I'm curious about. Because the other things I can think of are like harassment in the workplace, like, patting on, touching certain body parts that they shouldn't and those kinds of things. And I would feel that that's power. I would love to know what you
Yeah,
think.
it
Amber's
could
in the
be.
chat too. Amber's in the chat, just so you know, sorry. She's saying, are you saying SA is familiar and grape is an unknown attack? So the woman that was here before, she's there too. Just wanted to let you know that, but please continue.
No, I'm not saying that, but I think it's using grape specifically. I think the whole intention of it is to go out and commit control.
Yes. Power, dominance. Yeah.
I just feel like to me, well, I hadn't considered the kids thing. So I would put the kids SA at number one, the worst thing in the whole group. And then I would put grape, but I would just like to see us push them apart a little bit so that we could a little bit hyper focus more on one particular part. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just not able to separated in my own brain, but it would be beneficial to me. And I know a lot of people are like me, that if we talk about all of these things and group them all together, it becomes a smudge.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I'm just really curious now that you brought that up, like what the differences are. I'm asking myself, is it all about
Right.
power? And I'm trying to think of the research. Because I also worked 20 years in an office that was a probation office, but for children. And I had to go into the probation office as an adult officer first to get my training, and then I worked with children. Every officer has to do that here. And are you in Canada or the States, by the
I'm in
way?
Canada.
Oh, okay, yeah. So you know that it's different here, probation. We don't carry guns. It's very much
Yeah.
social work. But the reason I bring that up is because I remember there was one man, George, who was assigned to sexual offenders only. And I was so intrigued. First of all, I was like, how can this man even do this job, right? But second of all, I really loved talking to him about his experience, what he's finding, and asking him about resources, like where can I learn more about this? Because I was fascinated. And I do remember him repeatedly saying that with children, and I've since studied that too, that with children, it's like near impossible that to control the recidivism of SA in that department. So I know it's very different for sure, but I'm curious. So what are the other categories in the SA umbrella? Like, as I mentioned, they're like work harassment sort of thing. And I still feel that would be power, but
Well, I think that one could be both. Okay, but answer me this: like in your experience, do you know of any grape that wasn't directed by power, dominance, and control?
Um, again, I don't have that experience myself as a victim. I know lots of women who
Okay.
have, and I base my what I'm talking about here on these lives on research, and it always shows power and dominance as the number one. So I
Okay,
don't know
so your answer then
your
is
question.
no.
My answer is
Yeah,
no,
you've never seen it or heard it, or
or no.
yeah, that's where I was trying to go.
Yeah, I agree with you.
We can
It's
absolutely, okay. So
yeah,
we can absolutely put that one in its own category. It's
yeah,
never anything else.
no,
I think probably most of the other categories could be either or both, but not necessarily, right? Like, okay, well, I'll use my experience. Okay, years ago, when my wife and I were newly together, we were at a bar, and at that time, things sometimes by today's standard would get crazy. The DJ would have people dancing on tables and up on the hand railings and stuff.
yeah,
And the one time we were up on the handrail, and um, I felt something hit me in the crotch. And at first, I didn't know what happened. And then the second time, I saw the lady jump up and grab me by the, you know, and I mean, there's a bit of a problem. Like that was one of the things I wanted to touch on from Amber. I think it was she was talking about men don't report it, and there's a couple reasons. Sometimes men don't report it because they're ashamed to say that I was SA'd, and then other times, like me, I really didn't think much of it. Like, oh, whatever, it's no big deal. But and then she did it the third time, and then my wife saw her, and my wife laughed about it. So okay, well, it's no big deal, whatever. Um, but most women wouldn't feel that way, so it's
no.
different. So I think there's two reasons why men would report SA far less than what women would. That doesn't make it better or worse or otherwise. It just makes it less likely. So
I think the
numbers
fear
are
of
difficult.
let me just respond. I think the fear of violence is the difference. We have a real fear of
Yeah,
violence that's valid in society. So like I'm like
yeah, I
when
could
that
see
used to
that.
happen to me in the bar all the time, like all the time.
Yeah.
I was groped on every level. Yeah, and I seriously thought, am I in danger when I leave this place? Like, is that guy? You know what I mean? That was I was like immediately in fear. And the
Right.
bouncers would validate that. They would kick them out, throw them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know
So,
that's a difficult thing, and I don't know.
yeah.
It's a tough thing. This essay. I honestly don't think that we're going to get. I don't think it's. I don't know. This is. I go round and around in my own brain on this one. Argue with myself. Um, yeah. I don't know how you make it better.
I think there's a danger. I will say that I think there's a danger in if we start to go in the area of like lack of impulse control too, right? Because we can kind of go into the area, and I'm not saying you're doing this, but I felt like I was starting to say that when I was talking about, you know, what they say on TikTok is P3DOs because we can't say the word, right? The ones who assault children, P3DOs.
Yeah.
So when we talk about them, you know, I said desire and impulse control, right? I do feel it's dangerous to say that in this department at all of grape, all of SA, that it is because of that, because that can go into a dangerous territory when it comes to feminism too, and that would be based in a lot of problems, including grape culture. That is really real and active in society. So there's a lot to do with that as well. I don't know if that helps to feed and nourish what you're thinking about, but there's an expanded perspective there that can be like, okay, in the context of everything, there are things that are going on that are allowing this to continue. Right. So, yeah.
Right. Well, one of the points that some of the women, or I shouldn't say women because it's not just women, some of the people that talk in these lives, first off, if everybody just calmed down a little bit, we might get somewhere. But you get, like that's why I'm really enjoying your live, because people aren't being like over the top. And as soon as somebody says something that's not conducive with how they think, people aren't jumping all over each other. So
Yeah. It can get
this is the
wild.
only way we're going to make any progress, is to be able to say what we think without, because in my own head, like I just said, I argue with myself about some of these things. One day I think this way, and then I hear something else and it makes me go that way. And I think that's a healthy way to be personally. Doubt yourself as much as everybody else. But
Unless if you find research, right? And even
I,
research
I,
is biased.
I do worry about, okay, pardon?
Oh, it must have cut out.
I
Sorry.
didn't catch that.
Yeah. Oh, I was just saying, like that's why I like to use research as a grounding area. Even though research is biased, it's controlled biased, right? It's the best we've got to go on. That's why I like using that because we can all get triggered if we don't, right? And we can feel like we're all over the place too.
Oh,
Yeah, we need a grounding
yeah,
point.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. What were you going to say next?
So, I don't know.
We're
I know
just
there's so many things. Oh, I know, like some of them that want. Okay, they talking about consent.
yes.
Now, consent is absolutely um, very important, but I feel like some people are wanting to go so far to the other extreme that we're going to lose the thrill and the excitement of um, being with your partner. Like some people basically are asking for you to almost have a contract in the bedroom drawer that as soon as you think it might go that way, you got to haul this out and give it to them and have them read it in triplicate and send one off to your lawyer and your mother-in-law and everybody else. Like it's almost feeling that way. And I'm hoping that that's just the extreme loudness of a select few. And I know
I feel
that'll
that.
go
Mhm.
ahead. You go ahead.
Yeah, I feel that I feel that I'm giggling because it sounds funny and it is, you know, and I feel like some of the gender stuff gets that way too, like you mentioned, and I wanted to say that earlier. But at the same time, it's based in trauma in my experience. So these women are extremely
Right.
traumatized. And
Yeah.
if they're
And
extremely traumatized, they do need that. And that's okay. You don't have to choose to be with women who are traumatized, and they don't have to choose to be with you. Like people can do what they want. And so, again, I just want to emphasize I feel like it's the pendulum swing that swings to the other side.
yeah.
Same with the gender, the pronouns. It's going all the way because it's been oppressed for so long. It's like
Right.
swinging, and it seems like wild, especially in our generation. It's like, whoa, you know what I mean? To us, it's
Yeah.
like this is wild. But yeah, that's how I feel that what's happening is it's just a
Yeah.
strong.
So the pendulum thing, that's what's, for lack of a better one, keeping me sane right now, because I do really worry about how far it's swung on so many things. But
It's like falling off the thing, whatever you call the thing that holds the pendulum, is like falling off.
yeah, ripping it out of the anchor. Yeah.
It's
So
wild. Yeah.
yeah,
But I just feel like as long as everybody has choice and, at the end of the day, they're just discussions, really.
yeah,
And we all get a say. As long as we're voting, we all get a say in what happens. So,
yeah. So number one, I guess with the world, if anybody's listening, I just hope everybody will find a way to just calm down a little bit and listen a little bit more. I feel like too many people just want to talk and so few want to listen. And I think that's maybe that's a pendulum thing too, right? And I do get what you said. I wanted to touch on that. I almost forgot. Um, because I have at least learned on here that when you get somebody, and it is in these cases, most of the time women, and for the very reason you just said, because when a woman gets grabbed uninvitedly, she reacts to fear for the most part. So I totally get that, and that's something that I keep reminding myself because I do lose sight of that because I haven't experienced it, and
right.
so I can't relate. But so I do remind myself of the other thing too that you said, which is really important, and it is something hard for a man that's never experienced it to keep that forefront in his brain that the women that do jump on you that hard have probably had some bad trauma in their life, and so we got to give them a little bit more room to vent and to get it out. So that's something that I do work
Yeah.
on too.
Thank you for saying that. And I feel that your daughters are very lucky to have a father like you who can do that. And yeah, and even if they haven't experienced it, just realizing too that women do have a different experience in the world. We
Yeah,
are aware of these things. It's the first thing we think of, right? Like we think of protection all the time. Even when someone knocks at the door, we're like, I'm not saying we go overboard, but it's a thought. Whereas don't think a lot of men have that experience on the regular basis like we do.
yeah, and I think men suffer from if they haven't had the perspective, they tend to discredit it.
Yes, exactly.
Where I know I'm different in that respect. Like I get mad at my brother because he's such a cement head on some things. He just because it's not the way he thinks, he doesn't think it has any validity, and that just angers me. But
As we
anyway,
close
everybody's
up,
different.
yeah, I'm going to close off, but I want to ask you a question. This is really important. How do you feel? Because I just was giggling at the cement head term. That's funny. But how do you feel as I close off the live? How do you feel we can shift that with men? Because you can see them in the comments here too, right? How do you feel that we start to shift that? What would be your insight and answer? Because I really value this.
Well, I have thought a little bit about it. It's not as much as some of the other top or points, but I don't know that we can. I think we can with some people. Like a lot of it is upbringing, so
Hmm.
it's education. So I never had any sons, so I couldn't pass this along. But I do have grandsons that I'm going to try and pass my feelings along, and hopefully that'll help them become better men. Um, a big part of it is there's. I think it's something that's hard for a mother to pass on to a son,
Mm-hmm.
and for that reason, I think it's um, because there's so many single mothers out there. It seems like, I mean, I'm going by what people post as statistics, even though I'm not necessarily in agreement with a lot of the statistics. I think that's a big part of the problem. I've listened to a lot of people that I consider a lot smarter than me talk about these things, and that's one of their number one things is that there's so many non there's so many boys growing up without a proper man figure. The whole toxic masculinity thing is being approached from the wrong direction. If we're going to help them, we can't try to teach boys not to be masculine. We have to teach them how to be disciplined masculine because masculinity is important. We need it. Um, Somebody said, I think it was Jordan Peterson. I take most of what he says with a grain of salt, but I do think he's point on a lot of things. And one he said is men need to be masculine. We need to be fierce, aggressive animals, but we also need to learn how to control that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have your masculinity and you just bow down to everyone else, you're not strong. You're actually the opposite. You're weak, but when you are strong and you can control that, then you're fierce. And I believe that. And right now, I think there's a lot of younger men out there that don't know where they fit. So they tend to be stupid about it. They go to the extreme. When they're triggered, they go 0 to 100 in 2 seconds instead of being able to, think through it and control it and all of that. So probably the biggest number one thing we could do is figure out how to educate without um, stifling men. And when part of what I said earlier to you was about the feminist movement right now, I think is the, just like you said, right now it's on the other end of the pendulum. And it might just be that small little hyper focused group that I'm hearing all the time. So it seems like it's a bigger issue than it is. But right now, I feel like it's not about lifting women up; it's about pushing men down.
Well, I don't
And
think that's the whole of the movement. That's the thing. That's why I keep asking
well,
people for examples. I'm
yeah,
like, what are these radicals? So I really do feel it's a small, but maybe men feel most attacked by them or they see them the
well,
most. I don't know how they see them the most because I don't see them and I pay attention to this. This is what I do for a living. So I'm really curious where they are. Like I just don't get it.
well. Right now, specifically, I'm talking about TikTok in these lives.
I don't see
and
it.
I don't know how this FYP thing works. Like I don't feel like I watch any one thing more than the other, but
Mhm.
it could be something to do with that I'm getting more of those types of lives. Is that possible on TikTok? I don't quite
Well,
understand how the
it is,
algorithm works.
but you can imagine how many I get, right? Too. So it's interesting because
Well, yeah, you should.
I
Yeah,
get tons. Yeah, so that is how it works to answer your question. Whatever you like and engage with the most, they send you more of. That's how it works.
right.
So, but I'm
So,
so curious why these men see that. And I think it's what you said though. It's like jumping to like you said, we all need to be more calm. And that's a human thing, not a man or woman
yeah,
thing. I think we all need to be more calm. And that takes work to learn how to manage your emotions, especially if you've been through a lot of stuff, right? It
absolutely.
takes work to manage those intense emotions, come to a calm place, and be able to look at things and then discuss them. That's not easy for a lot of people. And that's why I hold space for men and women in the comments sometimes to just steam
Yeah,
off.
absolutely.
There's no place to do that. They don't have a place. I mean, there is. You can go get a therapist or a coach or a mentor, right? But
But we
yeah,
all know that's not going to happen with everybody.
why not? I want to
I
know.
don't know. I've gone to therapists. I don't have an issue with it. I don't have a problem telling
Yeah.
people I went, but I know lots of people. Well, in my life, my wife is the one that won't go.
Oh,
So
interesting.
there's reverse role, but you
Interesting.
know,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
And
you
so
know,
I just don't know why. I mean, yeah, maybe they don't see there's a problem enough, right? And they don't see the problems with them. I'm not talking about your wife. I'm talking about these
right.
like people who react to feminism specifically, and there are women who do too, not only men. They're like, well, this is too much.
Yeah,
But I'd love to be able to just talk to people in a calm way and say, can you show me what you've seen? Because I'm literally asking, like, from a good place. I'm like, can you
yeah,
show me
no,
who these
you're awesome.
I remember Sinead O'Connor. Like that's the last feminist I could think of who was extreme. She shaved her head. Do you remember when she went on stage? Like that was a big deal in our generation. I was like, she like long hair was the thing, you know? It was how women's were supposed to be. And she
Yeah.
shaved her head and went and sang Nothing Compares to You. And I was just a lot of women were just blown away. We were like, what is going on here?
Well, I was blown away too,
See?
partially because I thought with her shaved head, she was still one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen.
Exactly. Oh, I love that you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, no,
And
it's kind of funny because every once in a while when I'm feeling a little bit, I don't know, whimsical is maybe the best word. I'll turn all the lights out and I'll put the headphones on and I'll play that song.
I love it.
Yeah, I
And
don't know. It's just it does weird things to me. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
yeah. And the thing is like she's the last radical feminist that I can think of. I'm being honest. aside from news clips that I may have seen of like rallies, but
Yeah,
even then I can't remember, like when I think of animal rights activists or BLM, I think I can picture images recent that are extreme, but with this I can't. So I'm genuinely curious where this is coming from, because I would love to be a place for men to just listen and be able to just have conversations, because they can't feel good about them. And same with women who are have extreme perspectives against feminism. They can't feel good about themselves if they're reacting all the time and, in that kind of
yeah,
energy. But it takes a certain self-awareness to come back to realizing that we have a part in this, in how we're experiencing life. And we also have a part and responsibility to change that. And I think that's a maturity thing too.
yeah, absolutely.
Amber's
Anyway,
asking, yeah, Amber's asking, where's Candace Owens
Joe,
on this?
Amber's back.
Sorry, I think we have a lag.
Oh, yeah, no, that's okay. I'm reading what you're reading. Where's Candace Owen on the spectrum?
That's the Murphy's Law woman. Is that who that is? Can't,
No,
or
no,
who's
that's
this?
Candace Bergen.
Oh, sorry.
Candace Owen is a black lady that talks against a lot of the woke stuff.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
she's very popular on these platforms.
So, do you have an opinion on
Probably,
that before we close off?
I'm not sure what she means by on the spectrum. I'm not quite sure what she's referring to there.
I just Googled it, and I mean, I don't know where this is from, but it says she's a conservative political commentator, author,
Yeah.
activist on television. So it sounds like she's conservative. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate talking to you. I think this is a beautiful way to end the live. I really appreciate your perspective, and I hope to see you again. I'm going to give you a follow. And
Okay. Yeah, me too.
yeah, thank you so
So,
much.
so on Amber, are you talking to me or to Gina?
I think she was referring to like, where's Candace Owens on the spectrum of, because I was asking for
Feminist,
examples
right?
of extreme feminists. Yeah, so she's, and I think I answered that, Amber, but I'm not sure. I'm not familiar. I think she's in U.S. politics, is she?
Yeah, she's U.S.
Yeah, that's, I'm not 100%, but I'm going to look into her now. And the other lady that someone mentioned, Pearl, as well. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining, and I'll see you next time. And I really appreciate your contribution. Thank you, guest. Bye, Amber. Bye, everyone. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.